It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Well, folks, this person controls your life. He controls your life.
Yes.
He tells you what to do. He tells you, are you going to be able to go out? Will you not be able to go out? And I don't care if you're rich or poor. This is a person you listen to every day, okay? And I'm very happy to have on the show is Tom Clark, who is the chief meteorologist at WNEP, is now since retired, only 3 days. And Tom, it's so nice to have you on the show.
Sam, thanks. Thank you.
How many times I'd be yelling at you on TV?
Sure.
I'd be yelling at you. What do you mean it's going to rain tomorrow? What do you mean it's going to snow tomorrow? Come on, what's wrong?
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you certainly 34 years.
Yeah, 34 years at the station.
Yeah,
long run. Yeah.
It certainly was, and I'll tell you, it's interesting. But Tom Clark, the person. Okay, let's go back to when you were. Why did you decide to go into weather?
Well, it was a hobby. 6th grade, it started. I guess it started with my fascination of thunderstorms. I was always kind of fearful of storms as a young boy. And I think that kind of like transpired into a fascination with storms and thunderstorms. And it was just a hobby that developed from that, watching the weather. It's a great hobby. A lot of people have it as a hobby, but man, I took it all the way.
Yeah. Well, so at 6th grade, this was a fascinating. So you went into high school still thinking that you want to be involved with weather.
I did.
Okay.
Yep. All through junior and senior high, I had hobby. I had weather station at my home, and followed the weather, newspaper clippings and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you went into college.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And is that where you studied to be a meteorologist?
That was it. Penn State University.
It's interesting because we here at the SSP TV, we had a nice relationship with you going back, as we were discussing before. We got our weather from the National Weather Service, okay?
Sure.
And many times I've heard you at WNEP saying the National Weather Service says this, it says that.
Right.
When you're talking about your career, okay, how was it when you first got involved with a major station like WNEP?
Well, it was a lot of communication with the National Weather Service, and we had no computer graphics back then. So a lot of the data was like raw government data, and it was coming in, and that's how we put our forecast together. But we also worked as a team with the Weather Service back then, sharing information, getting information on the air, because I had the great medium of live TV.
Yeah.
And so we all cooperated with each other. But the data was kind of sparse back then. You didn't have as many computer models, so we only did a 3-day forecast. No, I think it was a 5-day forecast. We went out 5 days. But, you didn't have the technology that you have today.
Okay, so what separates a meteorologist versus a weather person?
A college degree.
Uh-huh.
A college degree.
What do you
That's
study?
it.
I mean, it's the weather. It's going to rain. It's going to snow. The sun's
Nah, you
coming
got to
out.
study all the math and the physics that go behind all that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's easy to say, yeah, it's going to rain tomorrow because I can read it on the forecast here,
Yeah.
But no, they teach you all of the math and the physics and all that stuff. Computer programming, it's in depth, it's deep.
But
So,
you can't control the weather. Okay.
Well, attempts have been made, but they have failed.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot control
You cannot
the-
control it, but
Yeah.
you can predict it, Sam, and that's the key. We can predict it with very good accuracy. It's an inexact science, it still is. But even with today's technology, people depend on accurate weather forecasts.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean,
So, yeah, that's
when you're looking at you have the same access that other stations have. Am I correct?
yes, pretty much.
With a meteorologist, okay? But sometimes, you'll listen to Tom Clark giving his
Right.
weather, and then you may go to somebody else and listen to them, and there's a little difference there, okay?
There can be, yes.
Yeah, okay. Now, if they're getting the same information, why would there be such a disparity?
Well, first of all, most of it's the same. We use some computer models that other stations don't have, but it's your experience and how you analyze the data and interpret the data, and your experience, your gut feeling. That's where the differences come in. Right
It's
there.
amazing.
Yeah, that's it. I'm going 3 inches, they're going 1 inch, or
Yeah.
whatever, rainfall, timing of rainfall events, But that's how your own personal experience and how you interpret the data, your own gut feeling, your decision making. That's where those little differences can come in.
That's where okay.
Yeah.
So let's go back to now the percentages. Okay, at one time, I remember where they would say, well, tomorrow it's going to rain, or you're going to get this, etc. Then they start using percentages. All right,
Right.
And I think I have an idea of why they started them. There's a 20% chance. There's a 40%
Right.
chance. When did the percentages start factor coming in?
Probably like in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s,
And what was the reason for that?
to give viewers, listeners, another tool to help them decide about, well, is it going to rain or not? What's the percentage of it? If they hear 70%, 80%, oh, it's probably going to rain tomorrow. We better not
Okay.
have that event.
Yeah.
But it's called probability of precipitation, the POPs. And the computers print that out for every hour of the day. But I like to use it because it's another tool that we can use, that the viewers can use to help, get them information to make their decisions.
The story I heard was at one point in time there was somebody. Now this is what I heard. I'm not sure. When they would say it's going to rain tomorrow, evidently it didn't rain, and a person had to cancel something, etc. And they sued the station.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because of the wrong weather forecast.
Yeah,
And so
imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, so this is. I don't know if it's ridiculous, but then
No, there've been a few cases in history of lawsuits over inaccurate weather
Yes,
forecasts,
and-
but they don't go very far.
No.
Yeah.
So the point was, so then they started with you got a 30%, 20%, The
Right.
fact, if it does, well, at least we said there was a percentage factor there.
Yeah.
All right, so you started your own little weather forecast with Paul Douglas, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah. And so then how did you get affiliated with WNEP?
Well, Paul he was my college roommate, and he was an entrepreneur, and he had a private forecasting service called Total Weather. And we did radio stations. We had a handful of radio stations and one TV client, and that client was WNEP. So we would phone in information from campus because we knew how to forecast the weather, and we would give Jay Christopher, doing the weather at 16, the information. So that's how it started. And then we moved the business, when we graduated, we moved the business up to Wilkes-Barre and Scranton and had the office there in the TV station.
So were you working as an independent with them at the time, or were you on the South?
I was an independent at that point. I was just doing the radio,
Okay.
not
So then
TV.
when did the opportunity come that they then hired you?
Well, Paul went full time. Paul went Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends, there became an opening. We had a few people come in to audition and stuff, and they were hired, and I was still doing the radio, but I was still there, and it was just an opportunity that showed up to audition to do the weekend weather.
And how was it the very first time you hit the light?
Doing this, man. Oh, wow. That's nerve-wracking,
Tell me, man.
First,
Yeah.
first time on TV. But I guess it went okay. I didn't smile a lot when I first started.
No.
Smile, Tom, smile.
You were serious.
smile.
Yeah, you're just
serious.
yeah.
But that's how it started.
Who'd you work with then? When you
Boy,
first?
Bob Carroll was one of the first newscasters I worked with. Nolan Johannes.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I worked with Nolan.
Yeah.
He was such a great guy.
How do you?
Gary
how-
Essex. Gary
Oh,
Essex.
remember Gary? Yes, yeah. Now, how do you work with them? Because do you? I know we have our meetings, and you have your news meetings every. Are you part of the news meetings?
Not really. No. Weather is kind of independent. I have my own story every day. I know what my story's going to be. But we communicate. There might be a news story that's weather related, so we communicate about that. But as far as having meetings with the other anchors, not really, unless weather is going to be a top story tonight.
Yeah.
And then I will join the meetings. Yeah.
Tell them what's going to be happening.
Yeah, what's going to happen? How should we approach this?
Okay.
When's the worst of it going to hit? Yeah.
And I want to talk to you when we come after. I want to talk to you about, do weather people exaggerate? Because sometimes, you're watching a show and that's all, and then the weather's on, okay, and then you're on because there's some drastic thing happening. Do you guys really, blow it out of proportion just for the sake of ratings? And I'm talking to Tom Clark, folks. He was the chief meteorologist at WNEP, good friend of ours, and we come back. Do these weather people just exaggerate sometimes just to keep you set to the TV? We'll find out after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show. Remember, 24/7, you can watch all of our shows on ssptv.com. My email is sam@ssptv.com. Talking to a very good friend of mine, Tom Clark. And you all remember Tom. He was the chief meteorologist at WNEP, and he's here to tell us how the weather people hype the news, okay? No, really.
No,
you know,
it's true.
sometimes you guys drive me crazy.
Now listen, Sam, it's not the weather people hyping it. It pretty much comes from news. And that's their job.
Yeah.
You want to play up a story to attract viewers. So yeah, there's an element of hype that comes from the news side of it. Yeah, some meteorologists do it. We didn't hype the weather that much there, but the news did, and that's to heighten the importance of the story. That's only natural that you do hype a story. Sometimes we thought it was a little overhyped.
Yeah.
You know, a little,
I mean, the talkbacks tell you that, you know.
That's right.
Yeah. But here again, we certainly do want to have an accurate news. And I mean, you know,
Yeah, sure.
I don't know any time that you have ever had a weather forecast that I've seen that wasn't, you know, what you said it was going to be.
Right.
How fast, okay, does the weather change? For example, you're giving, and sometimes say, well, you know, we thought it was going to be this, but something happened. So
Yeah.
even though you have all these computer graphics and you have all this research, etc., but sometimes it's like, well, where is it? The sun's out.
Yeah,
You know?
well, that's a matter of hours.
Yeah.
That can be a matter of hours. Where's the snow?
Yeah.
I'm seeing so much sun, I thought it'd be
Yeah.
ready to snow by about now.
Yeah.
So yeah, in a matter of hours, and you look at data, and you know, the models can miss it. It's an inexact science. But you know, nature can throw you a curveball once in a while, and you learn from those times. But the models are not precise either. They're not precise. So they can be wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's in turn why we are wrong sometimes.
Well, and it's not all the time, okay?
No,
but
exactly,
I view you looking at models as a X-ray technician looks at X-rays,
That's
okay?
right.
If you could get a trained eye and they look at an X-ray or an MRI, and you get a person who's been trained,
Sure.
he or she could see something there that the other person did not see.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yep.
thinking that because of your experience in that you're able to look at models maybe sometimes a little differently than maybe somebody else who doesn't have the experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The interpretation of it.
Yeah.
The diagnosis of the data.
Yeah.
After you interpret it. A doctor can miss a diagnosis.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. When you're looking at when you were looking at different models, I noticed sometimes you say, now the one model is showing us that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Another model, and what are these models? I mean, they come from different satellites or
different countries.
yeah.
The U.S. has a handful of models. Canadian model, the European model, that's a big one. There's one out of India, I think. But we use about maybe 6 to 8 models. We look at 6 to 8 models every day. The European model. Viewers are becoming familiar with some of these names now because we're getting to the point where we can share model data with the viewers.
You know what I like?
You know
what I like, Tom, is just like we're doing this show and hopefully educate people as to, you know, whether, but also you as a person, is the fact that sometimes, you know, Kurt Aaron and you and Snedeker would, you know, begin to give us an education, okay, on the models. Or they'll say, now this is what this is, and they explain to us.
Right,
Similar to
right.
when you go to schools and you talk to the high school kids, etc. I like that.
It is good. I think to show the viewers, educate the viewers just a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, just throw a little bit of science out at me once in a while. Yeah, that goes a long way, and people appreciate that. And they kind of see what we're dealing with. Folks, this is not an easy forecast. Look, this model's saying this model's saying that. So, and share some of your science with them. Don't get too technical, you know, but...
No, yeah, just little things that, you know...
I think there's
for
more and
example,
more of that now coming out.
Yeah, you know, if there's a bright star, and you'll say, now tonight you're going to see this. So the other night we were looking at, my wife said, look at that bright star up there. And I said, what the heck is it? You know, it happened to be Venus.
Venus,
Yeah.
and the moon was right next to it.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned that stuff on the air, and people love that.
Yes.
The space station's coming over tonight
Yes.
at 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
go outside and they see it.
Yeah.
Wow,
Tom
that
was
was great.
right, you know. So,
Tom was right.
Yeah, Tom was right. You know, well, Kurt says, you know, so we're
Yeah.
wondering, what's that bright star right next to the moon, right?
Yeah.
And Debbie said, so sure, we're watching NEPs, and there Kurt says, and if you looked at this, it was Venus.
It's
And
Venus.
It was interesting.
Well, we have a little star chart in the weather office.
Yeah. Now, what will you miss the most about not being there as a chief meteorologist at WNEP?
Certainly the people I worked with, the faces, talking with them every day. But I think kind of formally putting together my weather story, looking at the data, making my forecasts, and presenting it. I'm going to miss that, because now it's just going to be very casual.
Yeah.
Watching the weather and tracking it. I'll still do my hobby.
Yeah, yeah.
But to do it in a formal way like that, I'm going to miss that. Yeah.
Speaking of people, okay, you were mentioning Gary Essex, Nolan Johannes, Paul Stuber, okay,
Paul
who
Stuber.
was I think Paul was a genius in what he did as a
He
news
was great.
director.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy was amazing, and he came here and he worked with us for a while.
Yeah.
He said to me, "I want to be your intern up here." You know, he just I
want to be your intern.
And
yeah.
then, but however, you know, how was it?
He was with us for a few years, Paul.
Oh yeah.
I got along well with Paul. We worked well together. I always admired his. He used to put out a publication, Beat the Press, every day.
Yeah.
And everybody would get feedback.
Yeah.
On their work.
Yeah.
It was great.
Who were some of the key people that you work with that you really enjoyed working with?
Karen Harch.
Yeah.
Karen Harch, anchor many years ago. I enjoyed working with her very much. Joe Zone, he was. I always remember Joe. You know, he was kind of coarse.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
character.
yeah.
But that was his persona. That was his style.
Yeah.
And but he was a warm person.
Yes.
I enjoyed.
He did stuff for us too. Yeah.
Yep. I mentioned Nolan Johannes and certainly working with my wife.
Yeah. You got to
nice.
put that in there.
I got to put that in there.
How is it?
Paul Hepner, some of the other meteorologists that came down the pike. Paul
That's right.
Hepner was one.
Paul.
Yeah.
Jay Christopher. We can't forget Jay.
Yeah, Jay Christopher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Manny Gordon.
Yeah, oh God.
Yeah.
I tell you, Manny was my co-chairman for 10 years when we did the telethon. Folks, I'm talking to Tom Clark. We come back, we'll reminisce a little bit more and talk about how does he get along with his wife and how many times have they argued over weather. Okay, I would be curious to know what Noreen says, and she said, no, it's not going to be this, Noreen, and then an explosion erupts, okay? We'll be back right after this. Folks, 190 in Pottsville, 190 in Lackawanna County. These are the cable channels, 92 in the Wilkes-Barre Mountaintop, Kingston area, and of course here in the greater Hazleton area, we're on channel 13 and HD 513. My guest, Tom Clark, 34 years. He's been telling us what to do, how to do it, or we're going to plan the days, etc. All right, so Noreen, when did you meet Noreen? In college?
I met her in college at Penn State University.
Was she involved with
she was in meteorology.
Yeah.
She was in one of my first classes and caught my eye right away, you know.
Yeah.
And we met in a class called, you ready for this?
Yeah.
The name of the class was Natural Disasters. We met in that class.
Oh, it'd be a natural disaster.
So I've been married 33 years. Ever since.
Yeah. Well, when you hit 42 like mine, then talk about it.
Then talk.
It's good. So, all right. So, Noreen is a meteorologist. You're in. The both of you are really involved. What's going on? How many times has there been an explosion at the Clark house? It's gonna rain. No, it's not gonna rain.
No, it's not like that. There's no explosions.
No.
There's a little disagreement.
Yeah.
I'll share some of my thoughts, and I don't know that I'd hold back on the rain a little bit more.
Yeah.
But there's never any serious argument, you know.
Yeah. But you were the boss. You were the chief
I was
meteorologist.
the boss.
Yeah,
I was the boss.
At least there's one place you were the boss.
Exactly.
Maybe, okay.
If I'm lucky.
If you're
in
lucky.
the weather
okay,
office.
when you get home, it was a whole different story.
A whole different story.
Yeah.
But married to a meteorologist, we've been married 35 years now. 35 years.
35.
But we don't have a stormy marriage.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Only a natural disaster.
That's right, correct.
We're only a natural. So you do disagree sometimes.
Yeah, it's minor.
Well, which is
minor,
normal.
yeah.
Okay. Now your daughter is also a meteorologist.
Yes, Kristen.
Did she decide because she saw her mom and dad in it, and then she was interested? Or?
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, she was.
Did she say to you? Did you tell her that you wanted her to go in that, or did she?
No,
okay.
she did that herself.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like my daughter and son. I mean, people think they're very much involved. Of course, Sammy's.
Yeah, right.
But
she
they
saw
decided
us.
to go into King's College in communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kristen decided science. She likes science a lot. She also was kind of enamored by mom and dad being celebrities and signing autographs and people coming. That was, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That kind of kicked in early, I think.
Did it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was the worst day you had that you could recall weather-wise? I mean, where it was a real tough day for you. I mean, either storm or something where it was.
Some of the blizzards.
Yeah.
The blizzard of '93, March, and the blizzard of '96. Those were big days.
Yeah, big days.
And the whole month of January was a big month because we had flash flooding along the entire Susquehanna River,
Yeah.
the flood of '96 that followed the blizzard of '96, and some of the tornado outbreaks, Lake
Yeah.
Carey, some of those big tornado outbreaks. Those are tough days. You're on the air a lot.
When did you decide to go outside, Tom?
That wasn't my decision.
Wasn't it?
No.
No.
Before I started at the station, they did the weather outside.
Is that a good? Is that a good thing?
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
There's only a handful of stations in the country that do the weather outside. I think a lot more wish they could.
Yeah.
But they don't have the facilities.
But you've developed that backyard.
The backyard is great.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, it's a showcase.
Yes, it is.
It's landscaped and
Now they do the shot from up above, and you can see.
yeah, we got
Kurt
the
and
camera
see
up
you
above.
guys.
We got the bears showing up and
Yeah.
you know all that stuff.
Although the critters coming,
The
of
critters
course,
coming in.
Connecticut has a great time with it.
Yeah. Well, we have a big patio back there, and
Yeah.
Sam, it's visual. It's you're out in the weather. You do your reporting out in the weather.
Yeah.
Why not in the backyard?
Yeah. How many
Works.
times you wish
It
you didn't
works.
have to be there when it was?
Well, when there's lightning,
Yeah, you don't go.
we
out.
make the final decision.
Very quickly, we're looking at the future. Okay, let's talk about the website. Okay. You know,
Sure.
yeah. How important is that now?
Oh, that's very important.
Yeah.
That's a major source now for people to go to and use and visit
Yeah.
to get weather information, news,
Yeah.
and sports. Yeah. We're competing with that. Facebook,
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah.
I can reach almost as many people on Facebook now as I can on camera. It's
Well,
phenomenal.
It's interesting you say that because you know the future of broadcast television is a little concerning.
It is.
We're happy, and I knock on wood. My daughter is an expert in the Facebook and social media. I mean, she does consulting for major corporations, and if you need, you know, she's an expert in that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're fortunate because what's happening is, Tom, people are looking for neighborhood news. You can't get what's happening in your backyard versus a broadcast. You know, you want to know what's happening in
That's right.
Washington.
Yeah.
So as more people are looking to little station, not little, but local shows like we're doing, okay?
That's right.
And of course, we're also on our own website, so you can watch this anywhere in the world. But that's where I think it's going, you know.
I think so too. Local, hyper local, be as local as you can.
That's where.
And you also have the live interaction of live TV.
Yeah.
You know, the future of local news, you're right, it's a little
Yeah.
concern.
Yeah.
But there's always the live on live, people watching you
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
There's an emotion there
Yeah.
that you don't get on the smartphone.
Who
you
was
know?
the most fun you had with, if you remember?
Oh, the most fun.
As an anchor, I mean, because I know he goes banter back and forth. Who was?
I think Nolan was fun.
Yeah.
Mike Lewis, I got along with.
How about Marisa? How do you get along with Marisa?
Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
Marisa, boy, we go back.
Yeah.
But she was just very down to earth.
Yeah.
You know, some anchors easier than others
Yeah.
to kind of banter
Yeah,
with. You
yeah.
got a little chemistry going, but you
Yeah.
know, we're not seeing each other. It's not like you and I here.
Yeah.
We're in the backyard,
Yeah.
and we see them on a. We don't even see them on a monitor. We're looking into the camera.
Yeah.
So you're just hearing the person in your ear.
Yeah.
So it's a little more difficult that way.
Yeah.
But it works. It still
Now,
works.
when you're done 11 o'clock, you don't see the anchors. You leave after your weather.
No, I'll stay around until they come back out of the studio into the newsroom.
Okay.
Say goodnight.
Okay.
But yeah.
So what is what is Tom Clark going to do now?
What's Tom going to do now? I'm going to continue to watch the weather. I'm going to travel a bit.
Okay.
Yep. Me and my wife, my daughter lives in Minneapolis. We're going to go out there more frequently. Visit my mom outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I love gardening, landscaping. I like getting out in my yard. You know, I got an English garden back there, and I'm going to continue to try to manicure that. I'll have more time for that. I'll like that. And I have hobbies. I have model trains. I have old weather instruments I'm operating and putting together, and there's always going to be stuff to do.
And
golf. I'm going to golf.
You going to golf too?
I'm going to get back into golf.
There you go.
Sam.
We'll go out with you.
Okay,
I'll take
good.
Sammy and I will go out golfing. Tom Clark, folks, retired from WNEP 34 years, and you all remember we're going to miss him. But of course, he got some good people to replace him, you know, and I wish you the best of health.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Sam Lesante Show.